Hello and welcome to the brand called you. I'm Sandeep Tyagi, your host, and the brand we are speaking with today is Jignesh Patel. Jignesh founded Charioteer Capital in 2018. It's an investment firm. He's an active angel investor and has done over 15 investments in startups. He served as senior managing director at C3 Capital Partners. He has served on lots of different not for profit organizations, including being president of Pratham, New York, Tri State, president of IIT Gandhinagar Foundation, as well as a board member of TiE New York. He's also served on the board of IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation. He was educated at IIT Bombay and also did a master's from Purdue University. So, welcome to the podcast, Jignesh.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for having me.
Let's start off with Charioteer Capital. That's an interesting name. Tell us why did you name it that?
So it's actually charioteer in the Hindu religion. It's Krishna. If you see, Bhagavad Gita, you've seen a picture of Krishna as the charioteer to Arjun. So, and me being, I'm somewhat not very religious, but at least somewhat of a believer. I thought it was a very auspicious name, so I picked it. And thankfully, it was available. So, I left out there.
Okay. So your the inspiration is Krishna's story from Gita, Bhagavad Gita. That's the origin of the name. Now you do investments in real estates and particularly commercial real estate has been under a lot of pressure with work from home trend. What do you see as the future trends in the industry and what are the pockets of opportunity that you see in your work?
Yeah. So, Pandit, um, you are absolutely right. Commercial real estate has been going through quite an upheaval. So since COVID, with all these work from home trends, the office sector, see, commercial real estate is not one kind of monolith. There are various sectors within that. So you have, office sector, retail, hotels, multifamily, industry. These are the five main sort of food groups. So I would say that office has come under a lot of pressure. Although I think the worst is behind us in that sector, because a lot of companies, as you know, have been mandating back to work, you just have to go one day into Manhattan and you'll see during the week it's as busy as it ever was.
Mhm.
Retail is another sector that was in trouble even before the office sector. It's been going on for the last, dozen years, where a lot of the consumer trends have been changing. Malls, for example, have been going out of business fairly regularly. Only the best malls are surviving. A lot of online shop. Finally, after, whatever, 20, 22 years, what people were predicting in the late 90s that, online shopping is going to replace uh, bricks and mortar is happening. So, but, there are pockets of things which cannot be replaced within retail also. For example, your neighborhood barbershop, that cannot be Amazon. Multifamily is a strong sector within commercial real estate because people need a place to live, and thankfully, U.S. population is growing slightly, only because of immigration. The natural birth rate is that the natural population growth is actually slightly negative, but thanks to immigration. So, and industrial is a strong sector also because you have all these delivery Amazons, etc., which have kept it going. So, hotels.
Do you focus on any one of these
Yeah,
five major groups?
yes, I do. My investments are primarily in the multifamily sector, with a little bit in retail. as well. So
Got it.
I have kept to kind of the little bit safer side of and some people consider, multifamily is commercial, residential, kind of a mix, right? So
Now, you worked at many of the large Wall Street firms, served as a senior executive at multi-billion dollar funds, and then you decided to kind of branch off on your own. Tell us about that decision. What made you say, look, enough, I'm going to just go out on my own now?
yeah, so I had this in late 2017 where I parted ways with the fund that I was working for at the time because of a sort of difference in direction. So I didn't immediately think about, oh, I want to, go out on my own. So I was actually looking for some opportunities for 3, 4, 5 months. But then I realized that at that stage, I was 47 at the time. And I said, you know what? Now, thankfully, I'm in a fairly comfortable position. I have one son going to college, about to enter college. So I, I was able to take the risk of branching out on my own. So I said, let's do it. It wasn't really kind of pre-thought out or anything like that. It just sort of things fell into place.
Now, Gujaratis are enterprising people, but do you have family history? Is your family in business, or is that always a plan at the back of your mind that one day I'm going to have my own thing?
Yeah, it always was sort of in the back of my mind. That is true. I mean, a lot of the your friends would often say, what kind of Gujarati are you? You're not doing a business. No, actually, my family, my dad is actually a surgeon. So no, he, is a doctor. So not business, but I do have uncles and others, cousins who are in business. So, you know, um, yeah, that's it.
So it was not a given, but it was kind of a little bit of um, I guess, a story that was forming in your head all
Yeah,
along.
yeah.
Interesting.
I wanted to do something on my own. So the parting ways with my employer just gave me that sort of push. And you know how people sometimes say that uh, you never know if something will turn out good or bad. And
Sure.
yes, it really turned out good for me because, someone might be, oh, like, initially it was like, oh, well, I don't have a job. Like I've had a job all my life. Like what is, but it turned out to be in terms of personal growth and just opening up various other avenues of life. It turned out to be a great thing, actually.
Mm, mm, mm. And was it scary? I mean, you started little before the COVID time, but was it like a smooth journey? What was some big up and down?
Yeah, so you are right. It was a little bit before. I bought two properties prior to COVID. So initially I was quite hands-on. I used to go like I wanted to learn as much as possible because it's very different, sitting at a Wall Street desk and analyzing. I used to be in a sector called CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed securities. So I had a team um, that would analyze commercial real estate for the purpose of buying the subordinate bonds, which is high yielding bonds. But then owning bricks and mortar real estate, yeah, it's some of the same skills apply, but it's really different. I mean, you're dealing with tenants, maintenance issues, all kinds of things come up. So once COVID started, I was generally okay. I mean, I had a decent tenant base, but I actually picked up two properties during COVID, which I thought, for a fairly for less than what I would have otherwise paid if COVID was not done. Just put it that way. And yeah, there was some difficulty in terms of because everybody was moving back home to their parents or whatever. Nobody was renting. Meaning it was hard to rent apartments if they when they became empty. So, but thankfully, I didn't have that many, delinquencies or anything to deal with. And once the market came back, it came back strong. So,
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, well, entrepreneurial journey is never straight, so we all have our stories. You have also been spending a lot of time in giving back through various nonprofits. I mentioned several of them in your introduction. Tell me, how does that fit in your world? When did you decide that you needed to be more active on these fronts, and how do you pick the causes that you're going to participate in?
Sure. Thank you for that question, Sandeep. So one cause that has always been very close to me is education, because I have seen how education really uplifts an individual first, then their family, and then their community. In Even in my case, I mean, my father's generation in my family was the first generation to get educated. Before that, the grandfather was a farmer. So, and look what that did for us, right? I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here if that wasn't the case. So as a result, I was introduced to Pratham, which is amazing NGO that does work in India in primarily three sectors, childhood education, vocational training, and women's upliftment. So it really just kind of was a very natural fit. I attended one of their events in 2014. A friend of mine invited me, and I was hooked. So then they invited me to join the board, which I did in I think 2016 or something. I was attending all the galas and helping organize them. And then after a little bit of coaxing, I became the president late last year of the New York chapter. So I'm very passionate about education. So that was an easy kind of thing, and it's really helped. Meeting some great people who are also passionate about the cause and just working together. It's a great feeling. So it takes up a fair amount of time, but it's nice. The other one is IIT Bombay. I started with, that's my alma mater. So again, education. So I was very involved. I was on the board of the IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation, which is the nonprofit, sort of the charitable arm of the institute based in the US. Is president of the chapter, the New York chapter of IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation as well. Organized what's called our legacy project. Once it was 25 years since graduation, I was co-leader. We raised money from all of our classmates to do something which is called our legacy project. So we did various things, scholarships. There's even a building on campus now that's named after our class. So, various things we did. Student welfare, mental health was one of the initiatives we tackled. So, yeah, these things really just speak to me.
And now, when you participate in a lot of these NGO, what I found is it's a little bit of a thankless job. You do a lot, and of course, you're passionate, so you do it. But at some level, they also end up sometimes creating their own issues. So, if you were to give any guidance to new entrepreneurs or executives who are thinking of getting involved in NGOs, what would be your advice on how to navigate? Because you've served in many different roles as president, as board member, how to engage with what kind of expectation and how to, think about it. Some people come to it from a point of view of networking. Some come from it just from a give back. What mindset should a person bring to, and how does it help them grow?
Yeah. So I would say a couple of things. One is, first of all, just do it. Don't worry about, what could happen, or will I fit or not, or just jump in, start getting involved, attending the meetings, getting to know people. Second thing is you have to go in for the primary reason has to be the right reason, which is to give back. And if you go in with no expectation, then you'll never be disappointed. So, but the reality is you will get a lot back. That's what I found. So you get a lot in terms of, just like I was saying, meeting great people, like-minded people. The networking will just happen. You don't have to go seeking it. But you don't want to go in just for that reason. The primary reason has to be right. But it gives back. If you give, it gives back to you in spades. I found that to be the case. So I would say just jump in and
Just jump in.
yeah.
And the path will open. Were you active in student government in IIT or things like that?
A little bit, yeah. I was in the hostel at IIT Bombay. I was the mess secretary. That is a thankless job. That is not just thankless. I mean, that is like,
Yeah, mess secretary gets the burnt of the burnt rotis, man.
I mean, that was then I was again a different thankless job, a maintenance counselor for our hostel. So
Right.
anything's not working, it's always but so I was there, yeah, a little bit, not I didn't go into like these general secretary and those type of roles, but yeah, it was
I share that with you. I was maintenance secretary and house secretary as well.
yeah. So you know,
Yeah. Well, let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about your personal journey. Where were you born and what was your childhood like?
so I was born in a small town in Gujarat called Navsari, which is about half an hour south of Surat. So I was there until about 2.5 years of age. So my dad, actually, just before I was born, he moved to the UK to pursue his residency in medicine. So he came back and got me and my mom, and then we moved to the UK when I was 2. And so I was there in England for 8 years until I was 10 years old. So he was with the National Health System. So we moved around every year and a half. It's a little bit difficult, actually, uprooting, but he was transferred, so we had to move. So did that there. When I was 10, moved back to India. We had an extended family. My dad's is the youngest of 3 brothers, so his brothers supported him in setting up a private practice, a clinic, surgical, surgery, hospital, etc. So I came in 6th grade in India. It was an adjustment, but it was actually, I was relieved. I mean, in the 1970s, England had a lot of racism, which I faced as a child, and I didn't like it. So I was kind of relieved that, everybody will look like me when I go back to India. So yeah, I was a good student generally, up to 12th grade. Then I sat for the joint entrance exam, got into IIT, which then I thought, wow, this is the final achievement of my life. I don't have to do anything else now. That's it, because
You're the cream of the nation.
like, so, but then when I went to IIT, it was a rude awakening. It's like, everybody is as smart or smarter than you. So, but I adjusted there. It was in hostel life for 4 years. Made some really good friends who are friends, to this day, close friends. Had a lot of fun also. And then I came to the United States, as was, the trend in those days. The only slight difference for me was that I came for a business education right out of IIT. A lot of students would come for a master's in engineering, but I just thought, I don't I don't want to compete with all these really smart engineers. Let me change my field. So I
Got
came
it.
into business. Once I came to business school at Purdue, I realized actually some of the professors, a couple of them told me about I had no idea about going into finance, but the professors were like, hey, in some areas of finance, like derivatives, mortgage-backed securities, etc., they really need people who are good at math. And I'm like, well, I'm good at math. So, it took me a while to actually find a job. It was difficult, but I ended up in finance in a job in California for a couple of years. And then when I was there, they told me, well, what are you doing here? You should be in New York. So then I applied in
Mm,
New York, and that's how I ended up on Wall Street in 1990.
very interesting. Very interesting. Um, Tell us, what did you take from your father and your mother? What part of your personality was shaped by them?
So I think the biggest part is the humility that I see to not ever, you know, just stay grounded because my dad, even though he was a very accomplished guy, he did his residency, got his fellowship, FRCS, the Royal College of Surgeons. But he remained very grounded, and same with my mom. They lived a fairly, I mean, we were not wealthy by any means, but we were comfortable. But lived a very kind of normal life, So I think I took humility is the biggest
Biggest thing.
I took from my 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 dad and my mom. I would say um, always, she's always telling me about take care of your health first. Everything else is secondary. So I, I've kind of at least the last 10 years or so, I have been taking care of my health. As one gets older, we kind of have no choice. But yeah, there's other things.
Very interesting. What is one thing that has changed? Some belief, some habit that you had that you have given up over time?
Hmm. Wow, that is interesting. Let's see. Um, I think I would say, you know, I have become more open, I would say. And I mean, understanding, like 25 years ago, I might have been, I was more, I thought things were black and white, like either you're good or you're bad, um, something is good or something is not good. But now I understand, I think it's part maturity also that nothing is black and white. I mean, I think that is the thing. It's just an understanding that somebody behaves a certain way. There's a whole lot you don't know about them,
Mm,
about why.
mm.
So I've kind of left being judgmental for the not perfect, but as much as possible, and
Very
rather
interesting.
just kind of more of a live and let live type mentality.
Sure, sure. Okay, good. Um, well, the next set of questions is rapid fire.
Oh, wow.
So, whatever comes to your mind is the right answer.
Okay.
What is comfort food for you?
Oh, Gujarati food.
What specifically do you
Oh,
like to have?
I would say uh, a good lunch, dal bhat shak rotli. Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite book and how has it impacted you?
Um, I would say it's a book I read very early on, The Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. I really,
Mhm.
it, um, you know, I,
Franklin Covey's book.
yeah, Stephen Covey, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Stephen Covey. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay. What activity you have done recently that has given you joy, made you laugh?
Oh, uh, I would say reunions with my college friends. those make me laugh. Like I'm very joyful during those. We relive old days, and it's just a very natural.
Yeah.
You don't have to put up any fronts or anything.
Yeah. If you could meet any historical figure, who would you like to meet and what will you ask them?
Wow, that is something. Well, I would. I think I would like to meet. I don't know if you. Some people may think it's historical figure, some people may not. But I would like to meet Krishna. What would I ask? Well, I guess he'll say everything is in the Bhagavad Gita, but no, I think I would say just why are we here? What is the purpose of life? I think I would ask that.
Wow, Krishna is a big influence in your life. Yeah, that's the first thought that comes to your mind. What's your biggest concern with the state of the world right now?
My biggest concern is kind of a decline towards more partisanship, animosity, and I'm not just talking about US politics, I'm talking about the world in general. I believe things were going great, I feel like, until the year 2001, right? The 90s, late 80s, Berlin Wall fell, 90s, Soviet Union, is that maybe sorry, late 80s, but things were generally in a state of peace, with some exceptions, of course, but that's my biggest concern now, that all these things happening around the world is just disturbing. The Gaza conflict, Russian aggression, etc. So
Yeah.
divisiveness in the US.
Yeah, certainly US is not also not a bed of roses right these days. It is a lot of strife. If you find yourself with a free afternoon, let's say a conference gets canceled suddenly, how do you spend it?
Oh, that's I'd be taking a nap.
Easy.
That was easy one for me. But no, I might look, if I'm in a city, I might go for a walk, and I just like to explore a lot. I'm very curious in general, so I get a feel for neighborhoods, and just by looking at signs or looking at people, I might
Yeah,
do that. Yeah.
very interesting.
But I do love sleeping though. That is good.
Right. Okay, well, we are towards the end of this, Jignesh. Last question is, what is brand Jignesh Patel in your own words?
So I would say working hard, um, striving for excellence. Jignesh Patel is working hard, striving for excellence, and wanting to give back to society.
Wonderful. So there you have it, folks. The brand for today, Jignesh Patel, a hardworking, excellence-seeking, caring for the world, and humble person. Thank you so much for joining our podcast, Jignesh.
Thank you, Sandeep. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.